Ask Your Bishop. I'm Lance Earl, a 60-year Mormon who discovered the road less traveled. This journey placed me on the straight and narrow way, the way leading to life and peace with God. Are you a questioning Mormon? Are you a questioning Mormon? Join me. You need not walk alone. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I wanted to do something a little bit different today. I want to talk about the best Christmas gift, the greatest Christmas gift ever. And I want to do this by way of answering a question. Years ago, Justin, a young Mormon father, asked me a question. And I wasn't really prepared to answer that question at that time, and I've felt bad that I wasn't able to answer it correctly. He said, as a Christian, what is so great about your heaven? He began to contrast his understanding of the traditional Christian heaven with the Mormon heaven. And, you've seen the Christian heaven as it sometimes is illustrated. You've seen those illustrations where it just shows a bunch of saved people laying back on an endless cloud, holding up their silly little tinny-sounding mini harps. And I don't know that that's a very accurate description of heaven. I've also heard heaven described as an endless worship meeting where all of the saved spend eternity worshiping God. And I thought, I don't know that that's something I would want to do, just singing praises to God forever and ever and ever. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the sections of our Sunday services that are devoted to worship, that are devoted to singing praises to Christ. I love those. But an eternity of doing nothing but that, I think, what would it be like just to have just a particle of eternity and be forced to sit in a worship service and sing an entire hymnal from page 1 to page wherever that book ends. Every song, back to back, one after another, singing praises to God for hours on end. I don't know if that sounds like heaven. And to give you folks that are LDS, to give you a little context, I have discovered as a Christian that not almost all, but many of the songs that I sang as a Mormon were actually remakes of Christian songs. The melody stays the same, but the message gets changed to present a Mormon message, a Mormon gospel, a Mormon understanding of God. And so can you imagine a sacrament meeting that started with hymn number 1 and went all the way to the end? You couldn't go. You couldn't leave until you'd sung every song. That's just a particle of eternity, and I can't imagine that. I think that would be absolute misery. Now, these, I believe, were Justin's understanding of the heaven that we as Christians look forward to. And I would like to just correct that a little bit. As he described the Mormon heaven, I quickly realized why his heaven looks so appealing. You see, Justin is a brilliant young man. He has a gift and a passion to learn, and he loves the idea of eternal progression, of progressing eternally, always growing, always learning, always developing. He loves that, and so it's not hard for me to see why he would think that heaven would be better than the cloud-sitting heaven or the endless singing heaven. And perhaps he would be right in that matter, but let's look a little deeper. But first of all, when Justin asked this question, I was dismayed. I was saddened because I didn't have an answer that would satisfy him, and certainly my answer didn't satisfy me. I had to give it some thought, and it's been a few years now, and I would like to suggest something. But first of all, let's look at the support for the Mormon heaven. Is there support for it? Well, the fourth Mormon prophet said, God is increasing in knowledge. If there was a point where a man in his progression could not proceed any further, the very idea would throw a gloom over every intelligent and reflecting mind. God himself is increasing and is progressing in knowledge, power, and dominion, and will do so worlds without end. That's Wilford Woodruff, Discourses of Wilford Woodruff, page 3. The whole idea of eternal progression presupposes that a person can progress in knowledge, ever growing, just as the Mormon God is growing now, and you can actually progress to a point where you have more knowledge, more understanding, are more perfect than even the Mormon God is today. That's an interesting take. Now, there are other aspects of the Mormon heaven, and I like these better than learning, because as a student, I wasn't great. So there were some other parts that I liked better. As a Mormon man, these were especially appealing to me, and I'd like you to take just a minute and hear what the 12th Mormon prophet had to say on this matter. Here he is, Spencer W. Kimball.
Brethren, 225,000 of you here tonight. I suppose 225,000 of you may become gods. There seems to be plenty of space out there in the universe, and the Lord has proved that he knows how to do it. I think he could make, or have us help make, probably, worlds for all of us, for every one of us, 225,000. Just think of the possibilities, the potential.
I loved the idea of creating my own planet and peopling that planet with my children that I would create through sexual relations with my many wives. And I wanted those many wives because I wanted to be like my Heavenly Father, who had plural wives. To me, that sounded great. And since every child I would create and send down to my world would be the result of sexual activity, this sounded awesome to me. Of course, that was a fleshly desire, a desire that I look back on now and I can't say would have been very godly. But let's hear what the 6th Mormon prophet had to say about that. He said, God is not only our ruler and creator, he is also our Heavenly Father. All men and women are literally the sons and daughters of God. Man as a spirit was begotten and born. Hear this, begotten and born of heavenly parents. This is the teachings of the presidents of the church, Joseph F. Smith, page 335. That we could spend eternity with our spouse or our wives or many wives to beget and birth children that we would then later send down to this world that we would prepare. But I think that there is an incomprehensible heaven. Jesus said, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. That's John 14:2. Jesus says, I go to prepare a place for you. But he didn't tell us anything more about it. And have you ever wondered why? May I suggest an answer? When heaven can be comprehended by our finite minds, by our little minds, compared to God's infinite mind, our tiny little speck of understanding, when we can comprehend God in our finite minds, that is absolute proof, I would think, that our understanding of heaven is a false understanding. What if Jesus didn't tell us more? Because if he had, we wouldn't be able to comprehend. What if he told us all that we could understand, that he prepares a place that we may be with him, and beyond that we couldn't begin to comprehend heaven? What if that's the reason why he kept the details from us? It's my opinion that heaven cannot be something that is formed in our minds, something that is the best imagination of our own minds, nor can it be described according to the imaginations of church leaders. I submit that heaven is the best Jesus can imagine for us. I want you to think about that. It's the very best that Jesus can imagine for us. Jesus said, "Let there be light," and light raced across the galaxy, just trying to keep up. Let there be, and it raced to catch up. Jesus, who created everything and every wonder and every beauty that you see today, has gone to prepare a place for you so amazing that you can't comprehend it. That's what I think heaven is. In conclusion, I asked Grace, "What is the greatest gift of Christmas?" She replied, "Jesus." Continuing, I suggested, "What if Jesus isn't the greatest gift? What if Jesus is actually the giver of the greatest gift?" And that's how I like to think about it. Jesus is the giver of the greatest gift, and that gift is his promise to prepare a place for us so full of glory, so full of light, so full of wonder that we can't comprehend it, but a place where we can be in that glory with him eternally. That is what I see as heaven. Though it's been a few years coming, this, my dear Justin, is my answer. And now you know what is so great about the biblical heaven. Hey everyone, Merry Christmas. God bless you all. See you soon.